And I've never seen the escalation clause. This is the first time hearing of it.
And they're like, I've been doing this for 30 years. And I'm like, you've been doing this wrong for 30 years? Your agent says you're on record and hands you the key. You can go buy yourself the Bentley. You can buy yourself whatever you want. Until then, don't even put things on your credit card. For the love of God, agents need to go through and they need to explain to their clients what the buyers are asking for. Go a little over, go to 520, go to 530. Not because you're going to spend the money, but because there's a chance that you can write a lower offer and get it down into your price point.
What's the difference from a realtor or an agent and a brokerage?
A broker is basically, you have to have at least 2 years of experience in real estate, and you have to have a certain amount of transactions that you do. You have to go back in and retake a test to get your broker's license. Technically what that does is allows me to, if I wanted to, I can venture out, I can start my own brokerage. I can actually, with the brokerage license on the real estate side through the DRE, if I was to get my NMLS, I can even open up a lending company. So loan office, basically, right? I can start doing lending for clients and people that come in. So it really gives you the ability to be your own boss.
And as a broker, you can still be a realtor as well, right? You could be an agent and represent clients.
I can, yeah.
So, both.
Kind of same license, yeah. So I can go out and that's what I do. I mean, that's I'm an active broker, so I do listings. I have a couple of listings. I have buyers that I work with, and that really kind of keeps me in the game.
What does it take to get into real estate? What are the licenses and certs that you need to get in?
It's kind of interesting because real estate is one of those industries where there's kind of 3 phases that you have to go through. The first is you have to get the classes done. Then you have to, there's typically 3 classes that you have to get done. You can do those at a college. You can go to Sac State or not Sac State, like Sacramento Community College. You can do it at Folsom Lake. You can do them online. And then you have to study for the test. Now, here's the interesting thing is the studying that you do doesn't prepare you at all for the test that you have to take.
Of course.
And, yeah.
Of course.
And I learned this the hard way because I was like, all right, I got my license. Okay. And then I'm like, I have nothing. I have no idea what I'm doing. And then even those 2 phases together, getting through the 3 courses and getting the certificates and getting your license, the real world has nothing to do with any of the materials that you've read.
What kind of questions can people ask to make sure that they are getting connected with the right realtor or agent or broker?
If you're on the buying side, one of the things that you have to look at is, one, they don't have do they have the experience? How many transactions have they done? If you have an agent that's never represented a seller, they have no idea what a seller is going to be expecting, what's actually going to make sense to a seller, right? And so interview a couple of agents. Sit down with a couple of agents, have conversations with them, look at their stats, look at their reviews, right? See what they have going on. You can actually, on Zillow and some of these syndications, they actually pull the amount of transactions that the person has done. So they can just tell you verbally, I've done 30 transactions this year. But really, when you look at it, it's like 3, right? And they're brand new.
Are there any contracts and stuff that people have to sign, whether you're a seller or a buyer?
So there's 3 main contracts that govern real estate transactions. The first one is the RLA, which is the residential listing agreement. You as an agent shouldn't start acting as an agent on behalf of somebody unless you have that signed. And what's great with that is you don't have to go on the market right away. It does allow you, it gives you a provision to say, hey, we're going to sign right now. Let's say we got a bunch of things to do. We're going to put this actually on the market in like a month from now or 2 months from now, right? But with them signing that, one, it gives you the opportunity and the ability to actually now legally act on their behalf. And secondly, that gives you an opportunity to actually pre-open escrow, especially with homes that have HOAs. You want to get the escrow opened a little bit sooner because HOA docs take forever to get. As agents, we can't just get up and run to open a house for somebody and let them tour a property. We actually have to have an agreement. We have to have a buyer-broker agreement put into place that says that you are not only agreeing to use me as an agent, but there's a section for compensation that a buyer and a broker need to agree on that says if we're going to, if you do like the house that we're going to write that we're going to look at, if we end up writing an offer on it, if the seller decides not to pay my commission, you're going to be, holding the bag, right? You're going to have to pay me my commission. The third main contract that governs everything is the purchase agreement, which is where the buyer and seller basically negotiate and they come into agreement with things. That escrow is a neutral company, so they won't do anything unless both people agree to it.
What are the consequences of not signing that agreement?
The legal aspect of that is there are fines.
Okay,
that an agent will incur, and that contract actually indicates what percentage they're going to get paid. And so You get into escrow and all of a sudden they sign you at 3%. They send it over to you at 3%. The seller's only paying 2.5%. Guess who's going to have to pay the other 0.5%?
Yep, you are. Exactly.
Yeah.
Is there any way of doing it on your own then, whether you're selling a home or buying a home?
There are now brokerages that are basically listing only. And what they do is if you pay them like $3,000, they'll send you a sign, they'll send you a lockbox. You take pictures and they'll put it on MLS. And then in the MLS, it'll say, just contact the owner, right?
How do you balance out the seller's needs and now the buyer's needs?
In the state of California, it is legal for people for us to do dual representation, right? And I do it all the time. The issue isn't with the dual representation. I think the main core issue lies in the driving force behind people that only use listing agents. And the thought process behind that is that, well, I'm going to get some kind of an advantage here, right? So that's people's mentality and thought process of why they specifically go searching for a listing agent and will only use the listing agent. Here's the problem with that. The first thing that tells me is that agent that says, yeah, I'll do that for you, is not committed to the buyer or the seller. They're committed to themselves and their commission. But the question that begets is, if you have an agent who is just clearly indicated that they're willing to screw the seller over, to work unethically, lie to them, cost them money, and break their fiduciary duty to help you buy the home, do you think they're more likely or less likely to not disclose material fact that could cause a cancellation in the process when you're buying the home?
Are there misconceptions, like things that aren't true that people believe about realtors and brokers?
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is that we don't do anything and we get a lot of money. I think everybody has a tendency of starting to count people's money, right? Like, oh, this person, and for some reason it's more real estate than anything else because they know what the percentage is. There's one little problem with that, right? If I tell you I'm charging 2.5% and then you're like, well, give me a good deal and I'll go with you. I'm like, all right, I'll do it for 1.5%. If an agent is willing to just really quickly do away with his own income to be able to get a listing, do you think they're really going to negotiate on your behalf when a lower offer comes in or somebody's asking them for more things? No, because they just showed you that all they want is they want a quick turnaround. They just want to make a commission real quick. And so if they're not worried about their commission and their income, and they just want to hurry up and get this done, right? What are the chances that they're going to actually treat you right?
Is the market favoring buyers or sellers right now?
Corey, I heard this analogy and I freaking think it's genius. It's the best thing I've ever heard. They said the Sacramento market is like a hot pocket in the microwave. You take it out, some parts are super cold and some parts are boiling hot, right? And so that's kind of the Sacramento region right now. There's areas that are hot and popping. Price, of course, is a huge determinant right now. A couple of years ago, you could list a house for $40,000, $50,000 overpriced and you'd still get multiple offers. It has shifted. It has slowed down. I am seeing homes stay on the market for longer. Kind of the trajectory was that they were staying on the market longer and still selling for the current list price. But now you're starting to see it stay on the market longer and actually dropping. So it's a fantastic opportunity. Rates are coming down a little bit. It's a fantastic opportunity to be able to get in. There's not a lot of competition. There's a really good saying in real estate, and they say the best time to buy a house is when you can afford it, right? Because while you're waiting for the market to crash, if the market crashes and your income is impacted by it, you ain't buying nothing. You're not going to buy anything, right? Unless you're cash heavy, or right the other way around, right? You're doing well, but the inflation keeps driving it up and you don't actually have enough money to be able to, you're waiting for your dream home and you're going to end up actually paying more for it. So it's way better to just buy a house when you can afford it. Stop waiting for the market to crash. Stop waiting for things. There's that good saying, date the rate, marry the home. That's flirt with the rate a little bit, right? Rates have come down a little bit right now. Get into the house that you want. That way you're not paying $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 more. If you actually make one additional payment a year on your home, so let's say your payment's $3,500, you get tax returns, you get bonus or whatever. Just by doing one additional payment per year on your home, you actually reduce your mortgage from 30 years down to like 24 or 25.
So do you think right now interest rates are going down?
Yeah. We're starting to see it slow down and shift. It's starting to come down a little bit at a time. There's going to be a meeting here, I think, on the 16th or the 17th. I think they're going to be lowering it even a little bit more. When things go up, when it comes down a little bit, we start freaking out, right? Like we were paying $2 a gallon of gas, and then it went up to $9, and we're like, this is so much. And then it went down to $7, and we're like, yes, we have such cheap gas, right? Like, because it went down from $9 to $7, right?
Yeah.
The flip side of that is true as well, right? We got so used to the 2-3%, and people got used to that. So now like the 4-5% is just like, oh my God, this is just so much, right?
Is there a seasonality to real estate?
People start in the springtime, they'll start looking at homes, because what they want to do is they want to move when the kids get out of school so they could be in the home before the school season starts. And so that'll run through from basically March, April. One of the things that I do tell sellers to avoid is holidays, putting homes on the market during the holidays or right before holidays. On the buy side, you have more competition during those spring and summer months. You do have less to pick from because sellers will hold off on listing the homes until spring and summer. But homes still come on the market in the wintertime. So if you don't mind having less people visiting homes with you, along with you, and having less competition, but maybe having less homes to look at, this is a really great time to do that.
What is HOA for people that don't know what that is?
Homeowners Association. There are some benefits to it for sure, right? If I drive into a neighborhood and there's like a really like bright pink home, one of the homes is just painted bright pink, I'm like, there's no HOA here. Like I could tell because of that. No HOA would have allowed that house to get painted that color, right? And so HOAs, Corey, can range very drastically. I mean, they can range from, hey, you just pay it for maintenance. So if there's any questions and stuff like that, we could take care of it. $50, $60, $70 a month or whatever, to $700-800 a month of HOA fees. And it can literally go from, you're paying for nothing to you can't park the car on the street. You can't have any cars. I mean, there's neighborhoods where you can't even have cars in the driveway.
There are going to be some people that do like the HOA. So for someone who wants to have those rules or regulations, what would that customer look like?
A lot of people that want to live in HOAs are people that really want like law and order. They want to be able to say, hey, you know what? There's a lot of noise that's coming out over here. I'm going to take care of my house. I have pride of ownership. This guy's just completely, this house is a complete dump. I don't want to live in a neighborhood where my house looks really nice, but that looks like a dump. And so there's a lot of people that'll move into areas like that love and enjoy the HOA because at some level, I guess it gives them some stability of knowing that some weirdo's not going to move down the street and start, tearing his car apart in the driveway.
What is Melrose, and does it ever go away, or are you kind of like stuck with that forever?
Melrose is basically a specialty tax because the builders at some point decided that it wasn't enough for them to just make money off of the house that they're selling you. They want you to pay for the streets. They want you to pay for the lights. They want you to pay for the school that they built down the street. And so what they do is they slide in a little Melrose. And those can vary. I mean, it could vary a couple $100 a month. I mean, it could be, a total of a couple $1,000. Now that's actually in addition to, it's a supplemental. So it's in addition to the regular property tax that you have. They do go away. They're typically there for 20 to 30 years. Most Melrose do reserve the right to extend it past that.
Wow.
And so if they get to like the 20-year mark and they go, well, you know what, let's make a little bit more money. They might squeeze that in there and you're still getting the Melrose bill for a couple more years after that.
How does someone get pre-qualified? And this is for residential homes. And what are all the documents and stuff that goes into getting that pre-qualification to even like start that process of going out and venturing to looking at homes?
A lot of times what lenders are going to look at is they're going to look at your debt to income. They're going to look at your employment history, right? If you're self-employed, that takes a little bit of a different, process. They do have statement loans, bank statement loans that they can do. They've gotten pretty creative in the last couple of years as well and kind of reintroducing some of these things. They're going to look at your credit history. That obviously speaks a lot of risk. And if the banks are going to be able to get their money back, they're going to look at your tax returns. So there's kind of a preliminary process. Now, something that's really important that people need to understand is they check everything about you at the beginning, and they'll check everything about you again at the end.
How do I even know where to start looking at homes? If I'm a very first-time home buyer.
What I would recommend is sit down with your client, with your agent, and give them a breakdown of like, this is what I want, right? This is, I want this many bedrooms. I want this many baths. This is the amount of square foot that I want. Sometimes people are like have a specific lot size in mind as well, right? Realtors have the opportunity to send you a link right from the MLS where they can put in your criteria and they can put your information in there. And this is like custom catered for you. And they can pick different areas, right? So if you're like, hey, I want a house that's like single story. I really want it in a really good neighborhood. I want there to be at least a little bit of a yard, right? Whatever, pool and stuff like that. But I want to look in Folsom. I want to look in El Dorado Hills. I want to maybe look in Rancho. So they can put those specific criteria in place and they send it to you. Nobody in the real estate industry looks at Z estimates. I've never seen
what is that exactly for people that
it's like an algorithm that Zillow came up with. So they're looking at like if your house is 1,500 square feet, they're comparing it to other 1,500 square foot homes. But there could be a home that's 1,500 square feet that's 2-story. And then your house could be a 2-story, 1,500 square foot house. Well, single stories are always going to sell for more, right? And no appraiser is going to compare a single story to a double story or vice versa, right? So you look at that and people are like, oh, Z estimate shows that this house is worth $400,000. And I'm pulling up comps and I'm like, well, real estate agents, realtors don't look at Z estimate. No appraiser is going to ever look at that. And here's why, right? Here's the comps that we're going to look at.
What would be some of those buyer mistakes that kind of slip through the cracks?
One of the most important things I think is inspections and getting the right inspections done. What happens a lot of times that I see is I don't allow buyers to sway me because they're in that honeymoon phase. And they're like, wow, this is the best looking house I've ever seen. This is so pretty. I'll pay all the money. I don't want put any contingencies in there. I don't want anything fixed. I don't even want inspections done. And I'm like, no. We're going to have a conversation because I know exactly what's going to happen. Because after and I've seen this a million times, we get the inspections done and all of a sudden the inspector is going through and showing them what's going on. And the honeymoon phase starts fading very quickly, right? And you're like, wow. Like, I didn't realize that was going on. Don't be in a rush to get credits in lieu of repairs. That can end up costing you a lot of money. I'll give you an example. I had a client up in Applegate. House sits up on a hill. The basement is right here. The dirt basically runs into it because it's on a hill. There's no drainage that's going on. And so we actually had to get a contractor, a landscaper out that actually put a retaining wall up like 10 feet. And then he dug in right at the wall where the wall was. And he put a French drain at the bottom, like at 9-10 feet. Between those two things, it was like $35,000. Had we just taken the credit, had we just taken the $5,000-$10,000 credit, we would have been like my buyers would have been like $22,000 deep in getting all this stuff fixed. They have a kid. They have a kid that was going to be like kind of in the lower rooms and stuff like that was going to be sleeping in there. That would be horrible. That would have been a nightmare. I mean, all kinds of issues.
What is a temporary rate buy down for someone? Like, what is specifically that thing?
The rate buy down really gives you an on-ramp to where it'll lower your rates because the rate is lower, it'll lower your monthly payment the first year, and then it'll go up a little bit more, and then it'll go back the third year. It'll go to what it was normally going to be and what it's going to be for the next 27 years, right?
Do I just ask my realtor, give me a rate buy down, or who do I go to for that? Yeah,
that's a really good question. So your lender is going to be the one that does that. Now, here's something to think about too. There are real estate or lending brokers that basically have a portfolio of a bunch of companies that they work with, and they can actually shop rates. They can actually shop different scenarios for that. So sometimes, for example, if you have people that aren't in their job for 2 years, if you go to a lending broker, they might be able to shop around and actually find a lender that maybe instead of having to wait for you to be in a job for 2 years, they can lend with somebody that's been on a job for a year.
What is the escalation clause? And how do you structure those escalation clauses to be in your benefit?
Escalation clauses are kind of cool. Not a lot of agents know about them. Not a lot of agents use them, but it's kind of like a wild card. Right? There's a million ways that we could do it. So what I've actually done in the past too, is if I'm writing an offer and there's multiple offers coming in, what I will put in there is I will put in like an escalation clause, and I will say, we're offering $900,000, but we will offer up to $5,000 over the highest offer up to $950,000, for example. Like I'm offering 900, but I'm willing to go up to 955, right? So in that case, what happens is I'm not overshooting and I'm not offering 955,000, because if there's an offer that's like 930, 940, I don't want to just come out of pocket and pay all this money, right? So I can structure it that way and say, I'm willing to pay. You just prove to me that there was an offer that came in, and I'll give you $5,000 more.
Should buyers look at the age of the home, or does that matter or not?
The age of the home comes with the territory, literally, right? Like I have people that fantasize about living in the Fab 40s, right? Or like Midtown. And I'm like, I don't know if you're ready for a 100-year-old home. And a lot of people, when they get into that, they're like, wow, I didn't realize what goes into this. And I'm like, yeah, taking care of and living in a 100-year-old house is not a walk in the park. One of the things that, I think that really dictates that is going to be price in the area that they want to be in. That'll really kind of determine where they need to be.
What is everything that goes into selling a house?
That's a really good question. So the first thing that you want to do is just like you are with buying, you want to interview agents. A lot of times some of these people will have teams that are massive. And that's one of the reasons why I try not to overgrow my team. And I'm still an active agent, because what'll happen is I'll call you, but I'll get Corey's team. So I don't actually deal with you. I get an agent that's brand new. So even though it's branded under your umbrella, I'm actually still getting a brand new agent that may not know what they're doing, right? And so, I interview with one guy and I get somebody else, right?
What goes into the next steps for listing it? I mean, pictures?
For 95, 96% of people that buy a home have seen the house online first. And so for me, like, pictures is one of the most important things, right? It's the first impression there. It's either going to attract them to come see the house or not, right? There's certain things that I recommend. Like if you're getting your house ready on the market, I would recommend taking family pictures down. It becomes very hard psychologically for somebody to make themselves feel like they're going to be in that house. They could do that because it's like they feel like they're impeding on somebody else's life, right? Take the family portraits down, take the family pictures down. Get your toothbrushes off of the, sink and, the vanity in the bathroom, remove the trash can out of the middle of the kitchen when you're taking pictures. And so I'll actually do a walkthrough with them, and I'll tell them. And so there's typically like, I will try to force them into like a little bit of a spring cleaning, regardless of what the season of the year it is. One of the hesitations of buyers when they're buying a house, right? They're writing an offer, is one of the hesitations on even the amount of money that they offer is they don't know what the condition of your house looks like. When we did pre-list inspections, there was like $20,000 of dry rot just underneath the kitchen. What happens is the buyer gets the inspections, we get the inspections, and I'm having a conversation with my buyers, and I'm like, what are we going to ask for? You get a pest inspection report that's $30,000 or $20,000. You don't have the privilege now, because you're in escrow, to say, hey, let's pump the brakes. Let me go find, my friend's a contractor. He can come out and fix this stuff for like $5,000. I could save a little bit of money. No, because you're at the buyer's mercy now, right? What I am a firm believer in, and I recommend this to all my sellers, is pre-list inspections.
What about if you don't need to leave in the house, staging the house? Is that worth it, or does that not matter?
Almost every single time I show a house that has the chandelier that hangs down to about this high, Corey, I kid you not, somebody walks up to it and stands in front of it and goes, why is this so low? And I'm like, because the dining room table goes here. 99% of the people that go in are just absolutely confused. They have no idea how the couch is going to go. There's sometimes like these awkward spaces. They don't know what to do with it, based on 10 years of doing this, and people scratching their heads, looking at the little spot in the kitchen where the refrigerator goes, and they go, what's supposed to be in here? I recommend getting it staged. It's going to be well worth the money.
I have two offers that look very similar to me. Like, what am I looking for to know which offer to accept?
There's a section that's in there where it kind of starts off at the top of the page on the purchase agreement, where it gives you the dollar amount, right? You kind of start there and you start working your way down, because the first part is going to be the financial part, right? How much money they're doing, how much money they're putting down, how long the escrow is going to be, right? All that stuff. The second section is going to be where all of the terms and the conditions are going to be, right? How long are they asking for the contingency to be, right? The appraisal contingency, the inspection contingency, the loan contingency, right? So you look at that. Then kind of below that, you start getting into the nuances of what they're looking for. One of the things that I recommend is that, for the love of God, agents need to go through and they need to explain to their clients what the buyers are asking for. If you don't hear anything else, right, is this whole notion of the fear aspect of that goes into buying a home, right? And a lot of people are afraid of what they don't know. And a lot of people won't take the step of purchasing something because they're afraid of the process and owning a home and doing all that. If you calculate even rent, right? If you take a couple $1,000s a month of rent that you're paying, I mean, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of like 5-10 years, right? That you'd be paying somebody else's mortgage. You really don't need a whole lot of money. And if you just bite off what you can chew, if you could afford a $300,000 house, buy a $300,000 house, right? If you're renting somewhere, last time I checked, you have to make a payment to live in that house, right? So regardless of whether you're renting or not, the only difference is you're paying off somebody else's mortgage, and they're going to benefit from the equity from it.
Do you love what you do?
I love helping people buy homes. I love watching people make their dreams come true. I love seeing people, right, like that didn't think, or they're first-time home buyers, or they could be 10th time home buyers, right? Handing my clients the keys is worth all the stress and all the crap that I go through, and the sleepless nights and the tossing and turning and arguments and yelling at other agents and doing all that stuff. It is absolutely worth it.
Where can people find you one more time?
Abel Simonyan, first part's like Simon and then Y-A-N, and emails abel@realtorabel.com. I guess you'll put the phone number and stuff like that, or just Google search Abel Simonyan broker, and I come up. It's the handsome guy. There's a couple of weird looking guys that come up under my name, but it's the handsome one. Just click on that one and it'll take you to the right link.
That's great. Abel, thank you so much for coming out today, and thank you for sitting down and giving us all the inside trading knowledge about real estate and how to do all the buying, the selling, and everything in between. So totally a pleasure. I know I learned a lot on just having this conversation with you. So for everybody watching, thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.